Hello, my name is Danielle Santilli. I am a music teacher at a charter school in Roseville. I teach general music kindergarten through 8th grade. I also teach middle school band and middle school choir. I decided to focus my project on my 4th grade general music class in a unit that we do on instrument families. And in instrument families, we do the Western method of classification, which is our 4 instrument families of woodwind, brass, string, and percussion. Uh, I decided to do this also because I noticed that a lot of my incoming 5th graders, or my former 4th graders from last year, were not retaining a lot of that information about instrument families as they were going into 5th grade. Now, the reason it's important that they retain that information is when we go into instrument families in 5th grade, they need to have that prior knowledge so that we can get into more in-depth information, as well as connect that method with different non-traditional instruments and other methods of classification that are different than our Western method that we use. So it's important that they have that foundation before they come into 5th grade. Now, I taught, this is only my 2nd year at Reach, so last year I taught my 4th and 5th graders, all the basics about instrument families. Thought that, I covered it pretty clearly, but when they took their pre-test this year as 5th graders, they did not get a lot of the instrument family questions correct. Like I say here, 92% of my 5th grade students got only 6 out of 10 of the instrument families correct on their pre-test. So it's just showing that they're not really retaining that information from 4th grade, and I'm going to probably end up having to reteach a lot of that stuff again this year. So my goal is to not have to do as much reteaching in 5th grade and maybe cover it a little bit better in 4th grade. So I decided maybe if I do this project and use that as a way to teach my instrument families, it will, be more impactful and help them remember when they get into 5th grade. Okay. The design of my project, my main objectives, I have them identify the 4 instrument families, identify characteristics of each instrument family, give examples of instruments that belong to each instrument family, and identify instrument based on their timbre. My goal statement is that 98% of students will be able to correctly state the names of each instrument family, give at least 2 characteristics of each family, and give examples of 4 instruments in each instrument family. I decided to make my project on Weebly. I'd never used Weebly before, but I found that it was actually, not too difficult to maneuver as far as making a website. I included a lot of different elements: Google Forms, audio files, YouTube videos, images, and their final project, which is using PowerPoint Online. During the development of my project, my main struggle was I wanted to make sure that I fit all of the objectives to the standards, and my presentation covered those clearly and didn't have too much excess. It was mainly focused on exactly what my objectives and my standards needed me to focus on. And that was a little bit hard because there's so much information about the instrument families and why we have instrument families that to keep it very concise, I found to be kind of difficult. And then I also wanted to figure out what would be the best way to present these audio elements. Because we're talking about instruments, I wanted to see, would it be better to do video or just have, linked audio samples? What would be the best way to do it? And I ended up doing kind of a combination of both, but you'll see how that fit all in my project. And then also, what is the best way to assess the learning after each instrument family? And especially for my final assessment, should I do an assessment after I do each family and then one big final project? Should I do, one just big test at the end? Just kind of figuring out what would be the best way to master how these kids are getting the information and make sure that they're staying focused on the criteria. Oops. Okay, so let's take a look at my project. Okay, so this is my opening page. It just kind of introduces the project, lets them know, okay, yes, we are going to be talking about instrument families. Let's explore the wonderful world of instrument families. We start with a pretest just to kind of see what they remember. about instrument families. I'm going to be giving this project also to my 5th graders this year since they had, forgot so much of it. So for them, it'll be what they remember from last year. For my 4th graders, it'll be if they have exposure from instrument families from a different music class. Okay, so the pretest is just a Google form here. It's just a couple of questions, really short, 4 questions. What are they? Why do we have them? Just really some basic stuff. I decided to go with a fill in the blank because I thought with multiple choice, it's just, it could be easier to guess. Some of them can be given away. So I thought this would be a little bit safer bet. I realized, though, the way my site's designed, they could just look up here and find the answers. So that's and that just has to do with me not knowing how to change that and show that not being there. So that's something that I would want to work on. All right, once they finish their test, they can hit learning goals. This will take us to our next page. Okay. All right, so this is where we have our objectives, and this is where we have our standards, and this is where we have our goal statement. All right, and then this is the button that will lead to our actual unit starting. All right, so history of instrument families. I tried to keep this really short for a reason because the objectives don't really say what is the history of instrument families, why do we have them. It's more what are the instrument families. So I just kind of kept it to be more relevant to the main 4 instrument families and what is important to know about the history. So I kept it really short. When I first started making it, it was a lot longer because it's actually really interesting how we developed our instrument families and all the different ones that are out there, but not really relevant to our objectives. Didn't want to overwhelm the learner, kept it short. All right, so now at this point, the user can actually pick which family they want to see first. Either way, you'll have to get through all of them the way the site is designed. But it does give the user a little bit of flexibility instead of just you have to go a certain way. But we'll just start with woodwinds. All right, so this is our page on the woodwind family. This is all the basic information on the left-hand side here. Here we have a picture of some different instruments so they can see what they look like, what the names are. And then here is the video. I ended up doing just a video instead of having the video and the audio samples just because the video has all the audio samples in it. So like, for example, we can see this first page, it's showing the oboe, has some fun facts about the oboe, shows you what it looks like, and the whole time the presentation's going on, you're hearing the oboe. And then when it gets to the next slide, it's talking about a different instrument, it'll start playing that instrument, give you some fun facts about that, also show you a picture. So I thought it kind of combined all those elements together as it talks about the individual instruments, whereas this is more focused on just the basic characteristics of all woodwind instruments. So the slideshow kind of is more individual instruments. And this is important because it'll be a part of their woodwind quiz, which covers the objectives of being able to recognize the instrument's timbre. And timbre is just a word for how it sounds. It's a music word for how things sound. All right, so our woodwind quiz, just 5 multiple choice questions. All of this is stuff that was covered. As long as they read the page and watched the video, they should be able to easily answer these questions. And then when you go down here, we have our listening quiz. And here I just have some short little instrument clips, audio clips of an instrument. What they'll do is they'll just click one of these links. It'll play the instrument. And then after they hear it, they just go back and have to figure out which one it was. And then they select their answer. When they listen to the 4 samples, they select their answers, they'll hit submit. Once they're done with those quizzes, they can click another one. Notice now woodwinds isn't a choice because we already did that one, so now we'll click another one. Let's go with brass. All right, same idea. We have all of our information about brass instruments on our left-hand side. We have our picture. Then we go down here. We have our video. A nice thing about our video is it's the exact same maker of all of the instrument family videos. Are all from the same MusicPlay digital resource. Exact same structure. It kind of brings uniformity to the site, as well as I really just like the way that they did it. So exactly the same as our woodwind one. All right, then we would take, after we're done with that, we take our brass quiz. All right, same structure, 5 multiple choice questions. Our listening they would select which instrument they hear, and then we'd go to our next one. Now, we already did woodwinds, but since the students have their choice, you know, it just shows up the other ones that are not brass. So since we already did woodwinds, well, let's move on to string. All right, our string family, all the information on the left-hand side, our pictures on the front, and then we have our video. Same YouTube source. Then they would also take their string quiz, 5 multiple choice, 4 different instruments, and then they would select the next one. So the last one that we haven't done yet would be percussion. Information on the left-hand side, pictures of various different percussion instruments, same video, but now percussion instruments. Then we would take our quiz, 5 multiple choice, 4 different instruments, and then now that we've gone through all of our instrument families, we would go to our final project. All right, so our final project is to put together a PowerPoint Online presentation. Now, PowerPoint Online is a site that the students are familiar with using. They have a login for it. It's actually their same login for school. So I thought that this would be a good program to use just because the students have used it before. I have my rubric on here so they know exactly what they're being assessed on. They're being assessed really basically on those objectives. You know, being able to know what those instrument families are, be able to give characteristics and fun facts about those instruments, and give examples of instruments that belong to that. So they know exactly, you know, what they need to do to get that score. I also put down on here that once they click that link, it is their school login that will pop up. So once they hit that, it'll take you to your PowerPoint Online. It'll pop up, and then you can say log in with your school account. So they'll know how to do that. We've done it before. All right, I'll close that out. All right, the last thing is we have our citation. I just put that on the top. The students don't really need to see the citation page, though, but it's important to have it, obviously, for copyright compliance and all that. So that's also on here, too. So we do have my easy navigation at the top. All right, so that's pretty much my project here. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. All right, implementation. This year, I'm going to use it with both my 4th and my 5th grade because my 5th graders forgot so much of the information. So yeah, use it with 4th and 5th grade. What I am going to do, however, with my 4th graders is I'm going to make sure that I teach the instrument families on the 2nd semester. Second semester, you know, maybe if it's more closer to the end of the year, there'll be a little bit less learning loss over the summer. So when we get into it in 5th grade, they'll be able to remember it a little bit better. And the goal is that I will be able to phase this out eventually for 5th grade altogether, and they'll be able to remember enough of the basic information that we can kind of just pick up where we left off and carry forward, and then this will just be like my main project for 4th grade only. Okay, evaluation. So I did a Google form for my evaluation, so we can take a look at those. Let's see here. All right, so I had 3 of my peers evaluate it. One is the technology teacher at my school, and then I also had just 2 other teachers take a look at it. One is a 4th grade teacher, and the other is actually a special ed teacher, just to get her perspective on how she thinks that some of her students will be able to maneuver it. They all really liked it. I got a lot of 5s. Their comments, the technology teacher is actually the first one. I know it was her because she was the one who told me that she did it like right after I sent the link. So she thought it was really great. She thought that it was easy to maneuver. She liked the videos, how they were able to hear things, and she thought that the quizzes were a good length. The other teacher, I don't know which one is which. She thought that it was great for introducing the instrument families. The technology might help capture student interest. That was another thing I was going for. Maybe they'll remember it better. They like working with technology. Maybe it'll help. And then the last one was easy to navigate, nice videos, but should the quizzes show what they got wrong? Now, this was something that I struggled with too, and I'm not 100% sure if I would tweak this or not, but I would like it if maybe I found a way to show if they got some of the answers wrong. But I would like it to say, like, not which ones they got wrong or not what the right answer is, because I know sometimes quizzes will do that. Because I thought it would be good, like, if they're just guessing and they're getting them all wrong and then they're submitting and then they're moving on, they're not really learning. So that's something that I don't know, maybe I will change, but I can see where, she's coming from here. I want to get back to my project. Here we go. So yeah, the results were positive. I really liked it. Okay, next, my reflection. Okay, so one thing I noticed is I had a hard time wording the vocabulary in a way that I thought that the 4th and 5th graders would be able to read it and not have words that go over their head, but also not be too, dumbed down. I also struggled with making sure that I was not covering too much information and just keeping those like core basic elements, because there is a lot that you can say about things, because there are so many different instruments even within the family. Which ones do I pick? I kind of pick the most well-known ones that are in the orchestra. Except for the string family, I include guitar because everyone knows the guitar. So I wanted to include like well-known ones as well as ones that are just important to know. So kind of condensing it to more like 4 or 5 instruments per family instead of, all of the different ones. Also, make changes to my goal statement to make it more fitting to the objectives. Like I said, making sure that I had the instrument timbre one, because that is one that is completely worded in the standard, is instrument timbre, and that's something that I kind of forgot about because it's not one of the first things that I think about when I think about instrument families. I didn't end up needing to make any changes to my learning map. Pretty much all of that was the same. And I'm definitely excited to use this site during one of my music tech times that I do have this year. I don't have too much tech time, but I will definitely use it with my 5th graders because I do have them for tech time. But yeah, the main thing is I'm still struggling with deciding what I want to do about the quizzes. And I also noticed that with my quizzes, they can click to go to a different page, but there's no way to click to go back unless they go to the top. So there's no like easy button for them to like go back and review the information. So I might try to. That's a change that I might still make with my project, is fixing those, the quizzes. So definitely some tweaks to do. But yeah, that's the gist of my project. I'm excited to use it. I think it'll be really a cool project for my students, and my peer teachers seem to really like it. And that is about it. Thank you very much.